Yo, it's me, OG Duffy, and those of us of a certain age will remember the ZX Spectrum and other home computers from the day. Now, it was the golden age of gaming, and we were given so many great games from the arcade systems. And when they got released from the arcade onto our home computer systems, mate, we got well excited. We were looking forward to them coming out on these little home computers that we had. But do you know something? Oh yes. Unfortunately, these games did not always translate particularly well to the humble ZX Spectrum. Sometimes they did brilliantly, but this is an example of 5 gone very wrong indeed. The first poor example we're looking at is 1982 Sega Arcade, and it is Zaxxon. Now, this was a great little game, a good little shooter. It gave nice different elements. I mean, you could go up and down, you had to gather your fuel and all that sort of stuff. And the shooting of the enemies and things at different levels made it truly unique. But how did this translate to the Spectrum? Well, let's go and see, shall we?
Here we go, this is it, Zaxxon on the Spectrum. Now graphically this don't look too bad. If you're looking at it you go, oh gee, what's the problem with that? But then start playing it. I mean, the height situation thing ain't too bad if you're going for them targets on the ground. But then as soon as any sort of opponents come at you that are above a certain height, you have serious problems hitting any of them at all. And then of course the busier the screen gets, the slower the game gets. Honestly, it's just really slow, cumbersome. And hey, Zaxxon weren't a bad little shooter up in the arcades, but at home on the Spectrum, best avoided, I'm afraid. Oh yes. Anyway, trust me, they're going to get a lot worse now on in.
So as you can see there, that was Zaxxon on the ZX Spectrum. Now, Crash magazine rewarded it the following. And let's see if I agree or disagree. Well, use the computer, they gave it 60%. Fair? I don't know. Then they gave it graphics 70. To be fair, I think the best thing about this game was the graphics. And then it all goes a bit Pete Tong, really. Playability 64%, getting started 54%, addictive qualities 52%, value for money 49%, overall 58%. Now, to be honest, the slowdown on this game was just terrible. It was not good at all. I mean, if you'd have played this at the arcade and you thought that was good value for money when you got your arcade version at home, mate, it was a shocker. But trust me, they get worse. Oh, yes, a lot worse. Next up in my worst arcade conversion memories of the ZX Spectrum is Double Dragon. I loved Double Dragon at the arcades. It was a truly unique game and one that just was amazing. You could play it in 2-player cooperative, you had a varying different level of moves you could use, the enemies just kept coming in all different styles and standards, there was weapons you could have. What weren't to love about Double Dragon? And of course, when it was announced it was being converted to the home systems, oh how excited me and my friends were. Oh yes indeed. All I can say on this one though is thank God for Renegade and Target Renegade. But we're not here for them, oh no, we're here to look at the worst conversions. And unfortunately, Double Dragon features. Let's go take a look at the Speccy version.
This is it, the Spectrum. Now, the characters on this, especially the enemies, the size of their heads remind me of 2 things. Could be the Playmobil people. Or the patients from Theme Hospital. You remember those with bloaty head syndrome? Yes, and check out his boots on this. Yes, he's wearing Wellington boots. Because every decent Street Fighter goes into a fight wearing Wellingtons, you know. Don't get me wrong, the good thing about this was the backdrops. But the positives run out then. Oh, here he comes, another man from Playmobil. Honestly, what were they thinking? This was so disappointing. We so looked forward to this, and this is what we were given.
A truly disappointing effort on what was and still is one of my all-time favourite arcade games. But my God, what were they thinking? The main character looked like he had Wellington boots on, didn't he? Looked like a pair of Dunlop wellies on, mooching across the screen. And it was just, oh mate. Don't get me wrong, right? Graphically, the backgrounds and that were all right. You knew it was Double Dragon, you recognised the levels and everything, of course you did. But my God, this was just a shocker. The sound was just plain and basic, and they could have done so much more with this. As I said at the, you know, Renegade and Target Renegade, they could pull this sort of game off, but why they couldn't do this is beyond me. But you know, the shocking thing is this. Your Sinclair magazine, how much were they paid for this review? Just listen to this. They gave it 8 out of 10. Beat and slash like you've never done it before and try the game too. It's a cracker. Yeah, more like it's a crapper. Anyway, moving on, it gets worse, people. It really does. Truly shocking. Number one, it is a true shock and left me so disappointed. They wonder why I drink so much. Oh dear. We go to 1986, a Konami game. Now, Konami were arcade giants back in the day, and Jailbreak was one of their other games. Don't get me wrong, I remember this at the arcade, and I particularly remember it on one holiday in Malta once with my brother. And I had an arcade machine of this in the bar, and we spent most of our time competing to see who could get the furthest. Neither of us got very far. Maybe we consumed too many beers. But beers aside, it's a tough as old boots type game. It was never easy. But anyway, it was good fun, and it kept us coming back. Nice speech, well animated characters, lovely bold bright graphics, and a good little shoot 'em up with different weaponry available to you. So how well did the Spectrum do on this? Let's take a look. Well, yes, graphically you can probably tell that you're playing Jailbreak. Yes, but for whatever reason, whoever programmed and made that version there decided to make it even harder than the arcade. To the point of the collision detection was awful, the gameplay was awful, the whole thing was awful, and it was so difficult and hard, to be honest, it was completely unplayable. So my memories of being on holiday in Malta, supping a few beers, were very short-lived when I come to getting on the home version, because it was awful. But anyway, what did that classic magazine, Your Sinclair, give this one? 6 out of 10. Can you believe it? There they are, 6 out of 10. They've struck again. How can they give this 6 out of 10 and then have the cheek to say, Konami has lots of great games to draw on and he's sure to get it right in the future, but this one gets shot down by the opposition. Now, that summary, Your Sinclair, was quite right. It was pretty accurate, but 6 out of 10? Come on. 2, 3 out of 10? Tops. What were you thinking? Next up, 1990, the arcade giant, which is Atari Games. They produced some classics back in the day, but this is one of their later titles, Pit Fighter. Now don't get me wrong, at the time we had a real glut of these sort of games. We had the Mortal Kombat series, obviously Street Fighter 2, personal favourite of mine. But back to this game here. As you can see, quite big, bold graphics, and almost photographic-y style, bit like Mortal Kombat. So why in the hell did they think they can convert this to a ZX Spectrum? And more shockingly, what was the magazine, which is Your Sinclair again, thinking when they reviewed it? But anyway, the arcade version. Several different fighters to choose from, lots of different options, different moves, all that sort of stuff. It was your typical sort of fighter game. It made use of big, bold, strong graphics and nice sized sprites and stuff. But that aside, let's go take a look at the abomination that is the Spectrum version of Pit Fighter. Here we go. Yes, take a look. Pit Fighter. It is pitiful, to say the least. Oh dear. As I said right at the top of this, whoever thought of converting this to the ZX Spectrum, my God, they had a screw loose, didn't they? Don't get me wrong, they had a go. So, hats off for that. I don't know which primary school they gave it to for them to have a go at, but it was just awful. I mean, why would you even attempt it? It just can't be done, you know. So sad. A shocking game, absolutely awful. Playability is non-existent. It's just awful. It's just awful. Looks bad, plays bad, is bad. But let's see what that magazine, Your Sinclair, made of it. Your Sinclair strikes again. Actually, I think this is probably their worst review to date. Let's take a look. Graphics 89. Sound 70. Playability 79. Lastability 80. Oh yes, you'll keep coming back to this title. Not. Overall 85%, but it's this little summary at the end of their review that I think is really on point, really. Nothing quite like Pitfire has been seen on the Spectrum before, and although there is a tiny delay between the joystick command and actual game reaction, Pitfire is a realistic beat 'em up as you could want, and there is as much. Oh, I'll give up. They saying it's good. Is it just me? Am I seeing a different game to the guys reviewing it? Surely not. Don't get me wrong though. The intro screens and that for the fighters on the Speccy was done quite well, but you don't buy a game just to watch a film, do you? Yeah, good job really, because my God, that would have been some shockers, wouldn't it? Anyway, what made my worst arcade conversion and why? For this final one, I am going to need a beer. Yes, indeed. Now, the golden age for me of gaming is them arcade years, without a doubt. He says, reaching down into his beer fridge. Now, this beer is for Lee Hammer. He's one of the channel members. Thank you very much for your support, Lee. And you've got this Eastern European brew, which has got a yellow label to it. I do believe someone in a previous video told me that this brand or name is Russian. Anyway, I'm going to need this beer, Lee. Thank you for all your support, buddy, and everyone who supports the channel. Thank you, all of you, just for watching, commenting and liking, doing everything you do, because I really do appreciate each and every one of you. But I hope you're enjoying the extra content, Lee. So do shout me out, buddy, and let me know if there's anything particular you'd like to see. But anyway, we digress. Let's get to the worst game that personally disappointed me the most. Anyway, this beer, Lee, is for you. Smells all right. Funny half the tang, but hey, it's cold, it's wet, it's beer. What's not to love? Coming in at number 1, the worst arcade conversion on the Spectrum for me. And this is a personal choice. I was so excited when this game was getting released and I was buzzing for it. And I remember I used to go in, look at all the magazines and that to try and get a review before it come out. And one wasn't coming. I'd never read one. I couldn't find one. But the game got released. Oh yes. It was a thing of beauty, sat on the shelf there. And I loved it on the arcade. It was so playable and a real popular title. And a game that I think is so good, I've not just put it on one monitor. Oh, no. I've put it on 2. And it is the one, the only, the classic Kung Fu Master by Irem. I love this game. And when it was coming out on the Spectrum, as I say, I was buzzing. I was like, yes, we're getting a great arcade conversion of a game I truly love. And I was well excited. I remember hopping off down the town with my money in hand, because let's be honest, we had to earn our money back then. And I thought, yeah, and I bought it. Nice double jewel case it was. Kung Fu Master. I got home, because like I say, I hadn't read any reviews, couldn't find any at the time. Put it in, hit that play button, loading, waited with great excitement. But no, US Gold had done it again. But before I show you that Speccy version, let's go take a closer look at the arcade version and why I love it so much. From 1984 by Irem, Kung Fu Master was an arcade game everyone knew at that time. No matter what arcade you went into, there was a 95% chance you would find this game in there back in the day. And you'd be walking around the arcade and you could hear that, the sort of high kick noise it used to make, and the tune and everything about it was so iconic at the time. And it was a great game to play. It was a good value game. You put your 10p in this and you got a good run at it. You could kick, you could punch, you did them high kicks. 5 levels in total, and of course you had to go and rescue the damsel in distress. Again, so many damsels got stolen back then in the golden age of gaming. Don't know why. Just dead. Anyway, back to the game. Anyway, your first end of level boss would be a big giant guy with a stick, and then you do him, and the next level would change, there'd be pots coming down, smashing in various sort of locations and things, and then there was different bosses at the end of every level, and if you got to level 5 and you destroyed the boss, then you rescued your one, your only Sylvia. Oh, and how excited was I? It loaded up on the Spectrum, and this is what I got to play. Oh my God, look at it. Honestly, if you want to go and get a tissue and cry for me, please do, because my God, I couldn't believe it. I thought, I've just spent money on this. I was so sad. I really was. Look how slow it is. It is truly awful. It didn't even scroll. You'd reach the end of the screen and then it'd have to do that scrolling Spectrum thing. It was just so upsetting. And I blew good hard-earned money on this. I had to get up and do paper rounds. I had to all weathers to save for that awfulness. And do you know what's the most awful thing is? Yes, the magazines did review it. They were very delayed in their reviews, and this is probably why. Listen to this, you ain't gonna believe this one. Your Sinclair. This is their review of Kung Fu Master for the Spectrum. That's the arcade version. This is how they rated that pile of steaming poop we just saw for the Speccy. This is how they rated it. Shocking, honestly. Listen to this. So, graphics, 4 out of 10. Probably the fairest result, to be honest. I've probably given it 2, and that's been generous. And then we move on. Playability, 8 out of 10. Value for money, 9 out of 10. And overall, 9 out of 10. Giving it an overall score of 8. 8. Value for money, 8. What were you thinking, Sinclair user? Honestly, your Sinclair. Sorry, it's your Sinclair. Shocking, absolutely shocking review. But then they had the cheek to say this. This is one of those who reckon they've got games sussed the biggie. Don't worry about the way it looks. You can beat this. You can beat anything, and you have fun doing it. I'm even tempted to go and spend a penny in an arcade to pick up some tips and see the real thing again. Damn good. Fish and chips too. Your Sinclair, I have a question. How much money do we all think your Sinclair were being paid at the time to give good reviews for a bit of coin? Because there's no way in the world, in an all honest review, you'd give it them sort of scores. So that begs a whole nother question and debate for another video. Now, before you all jump on the comments and go, oh gee, but Mr. Kung Fu was so well done. Yes, it was. And I agree wholeheartedly with you. Mr. Kung Fu was redone at such a later date that they did such a great conversion of it for the Spectrum. But that is not the point. The point is, this was released at the time, and this is what took my money. Yes. So your Sinclair, you owe me $7.99 or $8.99, however much it was. Oh, mate, honestly, truly shocking. And your Sinclair, what were you? Well, we all know you were obviously on a bit of coin for the dodgy reviews you issued on some of them titles. But in all seriousness now, it's been great fun looking back, and my God, there were some shockers. I hope you've enjoyed this little trip down memory lane, and if you owned a Spectrum back in the day, or one of the other 8-bit home computers, or Amstrad, or Commodore 64, etc., drop in the comments. What games do you remember being particularly bad arcade conversions that you were so disappointed with, like me? And also, let me know the ones that did it really well, the great conversion games, because there are some, especially on the Spectrum. Now, I do have a follow-up video coming out about this subject where I will show you my 5 best coin-up conversion memories from the ZX Spectrum. Because let's be honest, they were great times, mate, and we were always so excited to get our hands on the latest arcade game, especially at home, you know, and see how they converted and stuff. But your Sinclair magazine, what were you thinking, fellas and girls, whoever was there editing? Oh, please. I'd have liked to have been in the pub when you received your copy. I bet there was a little cheque or a little Beers on us tonight, boys. Review it in the morning. As many beers as you want. Free grub, open bar. I can just picture it all now. Anyway, everybody, please do drop in the comments your memories, good and bad, from this era. Stick to arcade conversions if possible. And I'd just like to thank each and every one of you for watching, subscribing, liking, but commenting, most important thing. And thank you to the channel members, particularly Lee Hammer. Top man, this beer is for you. And thanks everybody. If you've not already done so, check out that video or that video, because it supports the channel. And hey, makes me happy. Cheers, guys. Hope you're having a great one. Oh dear, I'm not going to go back and play that Kung Fu Master. Not on the Speccy anyway. Cheers.